Welcome back, guys, to another episode. We're working on the rat rod. We have done a bit of progress since the last video. Not a whole lot, but we did finish up the motor mounts. We built some custom wheel spacers, just temporary, so we could put the wheels on it because we had some rubbing issues. And we wanted to see how, because they were inwards a lot compared to the fenders. So I ended up ordering new spacers, but we were waiting and nothing was moving, so I decided just to make a quick set, just so we could put the trucks on the wheels again, right? So as promised, we did the brake line. We got that done here one evening. So we took the old one out and built a new line, a lot cleaner. And then we did our super wheel spacers. Temporary though, just temporary. So we're taking them off tonight, and we ended up getting these carts. So we'll put the truck on that, and then it'll give me a bit more room to work in the shop. I'm kind of limited for space, so I'll be working on the cab here pretty soon. So I'll take the cab off, put the spacers, put the wheels back on it, then slide the carts underneath. So I'll be able to move the frame around easily and give me a bit more room to work on the cab, because I'm at the end of my boom and I'm right up against the frame. So with that being said, we'll move that out of the way and we'll flip the cab on its backside, and we got some cracks and stuff here we found in the back corners. And we started our cross member, and we also started our front. I don't know if you can see good here, but there's patches that has been done, and we'll add up some bracing here. So we're just trying to figure out what we'll do for cross members and floors. I got some parts ordered for it. Today's video mostly we'll be working on the cab, putting the spacers and the carts, and we'll move stuff around a little bit. And I forgot from the last video, we also took the doors out. We had a bit of a hard time because these bolts are tapered and flat, so we had to, I have one somewhere, we had to weld some old bolts to them to be able to remove them. So these are the bolts, and we had an impact. You hit with a hammer and it twists off, and it was stripping the bolts, so we decided to weld the old bolts to it, and then I'll just have to source new tapered bolts for the doors. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We'll get at it. Hopefully we get the cab figured out and the cross members, and the spacers I've built quickly just to give you guys an idea. Basically just 2 plates. I did it the lazy way. I went online, figured out how they count the 5x120, put that in the table, cut a couple plates, couple pieces of pipes, run the pipes through the lathe to face them up, and just weld them together. And my girlfriend was in town, so she picked up some bolts for me. Same metric bolts that I had the lug nuts for, so I didn't have to change the lug nuts or damage the wheels with regular wheel nuts. So we had that done, and also almost forgot to show you guys, we built the motor mounts. We use a bushing from the truck center, which is like a transport truck center, almost like a leaf spring bushing. So it's a steel press-in rubber or there's a steel sleeve with a rubber and then another steel sleeve inside. So it makes for a solid motor mount. Hopefully it'll outlast this truck. So we'll get that the other side and we'll do the back also. The back, obviously we don't have to put the spacers, so we'll do the spacers and then we'll put the carts and we'll go from there. Now that we have the truck, the spacers are on, the carts are on, we'll go ahead and remove the cabin. And then we'll move the frame probably here somewhere. So in front of the steel rack, I think. And then we'll be able to play with the crane and have the cab set up in this area. So we have the cab there. So we'll just try to figure out a way so we can flip it on the back without hurting nothing. Bit hard to hurt a rat rod, but you still don't want to do dents where there is no dents, right? So we'll get at that. Try to flip it on the back and see what kind of rust or damages and cracks we have to deal with in the back here. So most likely we'll cut a piece, add a tubing, and then we'll add some cross members going to the front. That's the plan, but I'll have to wait till I actually flip it and see what we actually can do. I started thinking, I have this big thick tarp, it's like a fiberglass tarp for welding. I'll just lay that on the back, and it's actually fairly light. I thought it would have been heavier. So I'll just flip it by hand, and then I'll take the crane, pick it up, and once it's turned, I'll pick it up and then put it on stand so I'll be able to examine what we'll be doing. So I can set you guys just here if you want to take a look and see how it goes. Hopefully it goes good. This is actually lighter than I was expecting. Perfect. That was easy. And obviously lighter. It's pretty light. And believe it or not, I wanted to show you guys. In 47, I guess rubber was a hard thing to get or something. So can you take a guess what this is? You might not believe me unless it's been changed. I don't know about that, but I know one thing, that's what it's got right now. Those were the cab mounts. So they actually had wood as the mounts. Not the actual bolts and stuff, but instead of rubbers, it was a wooden block. That makes you wonder. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, it must have squeaked or made some kind of noise or something. I don't know. So, hopefully we don't mount it back like that. We'll have some polyurethane mounts. We got some ordered. So when they come in there, we'll do the cab fitment on the frame, build the mounts, and obviously we'll do that before we actually do all the floor work, because it'll be easier to get in from the top, as I don't have a hoist which would be pretty handy. But I'll do it the old-fashioned way, and no hoist. Eventually I might get a little hoist or something movable for the shop. I'll just show you guys a little bit of work we've done. We've built some new cab mounts. So we did a little bend here for extra strength, and it was all rotten, so we built a plate that got into the door jamb or the door post. And then we added 2x1 cross member, so we did the tunnel for transmission. And we also cleaned up the front here. We'll end up cutting all that off, but I wanted to do it in steps so I don't cut everything and then the cab kind of loses its shape. So these parts are thicker, so we're going to have another tubing here, so it's going to stiffen up the front. And then we might run a tubing here. I'm not sure. We'll put a plate in here too, because instead of the floor going, we'll have the floor going. The angle will be steeper, so we'll have a bit more leg room. But we'll take a look here and see. It's not that bad. It is rusty a little bit, but it's mostly surface rust. So I'll take the crane, or first, before I do that, I'll finish welding this part on both sides, and then I'll take the crane here and I'll lift it up, and I might get those bad boys and put it under the cab, so I'll be like at kind of a proper height to work at. I won't have to be on the ground. So try to work smart, guys. So we have the cabin on its back. Now it's time. Yeah. That's why we'll need to do some rust repair. But it's time to look at what we got to work with. So it's actually not that bad. There's like a channel here that's pretty thick, at least 1/8, and that's not rusted at all. The cab mounts used to be here, so we figure the rocker panels and the floorboards are good. We just have a few cracks in this area. We might stiffen it up a bit with a plate, and we'll probably end up using that same bolt for the cross member, and even here we'll end up probably using the same. And we're probably going to run a tubing from the back here all the way to the door jamb or the rocker panel, and we'll trim in here and have it so it's against here, so it's nice and stiff. Well, that's the plan, guys. We'll get at it and try to fit our tubings and clean up and remove the wooden cab mount. The wooden cab mount. So guys, I got a little bit carried away to the music. Makes you wonder sometimes what we're doing in the shop. The girlfriend always wonders what I'm doing. I say, well, I work. I guess it depends what kind of work we're talking about. But anyways, we got some more work done on the truck, the cabin, and I'll show you guys where we're at. So we cleaned all the parts, we did some tack welding, there was some cracks here, and we added a tubing for reinforcements, and we added angle. Well, you might wonder why put an angle, and it's going to come down the road that we want to try something new. I ordered a solid rivet kit, which is basically like a rivet, and you need an air chisel and you need an anvil on the other side, and it squishes them together. So it kind of acts like a spot weld. And that's the reason why we added angles here. And then obviously we got the tubings here. That's the main cross member, and we got a tubing here. And then we'll bend the tunnel. Obviously we have to have it on the chassis, but we'll bend the tunnel with something thicker so it'll act like a cross member kind of. So that's where we're at. That's going to be it for today's video. We got a bit of work done and it's going good. Next video will be, we should be working on the corners here, and we got one corner that needs some repairs, so we'll probably build a new patch and we'll play around with the stretcher and the shrinker, which I haven't got the chance to do yet. So hopefully that turns out all right. And after we got that pretty much patched and figured out, we'll flip the cab again and we'll drop it on the frame, so we'll be able to start the mounts. I had something ordered, it's just taking too long, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to do basically put a piece of pipe or machine, whatever I have to do to make a piece of pipe fit there, and then I'll go from there to do my mount to the frame, and then obviously the cab will sit on that, so it'll be rubber mounted. Should work all right. And anyways guys, if you haven't yet subscribed, please do like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching guys. Have a good night. I'm out.